In 1950, the White Rock Mineral Girl was 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 140 pounds. Now she is 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighs only 110 pounds, signifying the growing deviation between the weight of models and that of the normal female population. Notice there's no period here. It comes after the parenthetical citation. So we have parentheses, Pfeiffer, 184, end parentheses, and then our period. There's no other punctuation inside this in-text citation. So there's no comma here, there's no dash, there's no forward slash, no backslash, nothing. It's just the author's last name and the page number. So here we use in-text citation to give credit to the original author for her paraphrase. Notice that this information here, as well as the information above, was not actually quoted, meaning that Teal, this student, paraphrased the information in the original source and put the original information in her own words. Even when you put the information in your own words, however, you still need to indicate where you got that information. So the in-text citation is definitely necessary, even for summarized or paraphrased material. So let's take a look at which source this in-text citation is referring to. So Pfeiffer 184, let's take a look at our works cited page. Okay, and on this works cited page, I see Pfeiffer, Mary Pfeiffer, Reviving Ophelia. This is a print source. It looks like it's probably a book from 1994. So because it's a print source, it should have page numbers, and notice in that in-text citation, she did indicate which page. It was page 184. Again, the first word of this full citation happens to be the author's last name, and that is why in her in-text citation, Teal placed the author's last name here. So just like the skinny was the first words of the full citation for that source, Pfeiffer was the first word of the full citation for this source. So just so you know, it's not always the author's last name. It's usually the author's last name because usually we have an author. However, there are instances when the author is omitted and we just abbreviate that title there. Okay, let's scroll down here. All right, here we have a good example of when we use information that's been quoted in the original source. So here, yet 2/3 of teenage girls acknowledge that these thin characters were not an accurate reflection of real life. QTD in Dietrich children. So this in-text citation is a little different, looks a little strange. Let's focus first on this QTD in. QTD in an in-text citation indicates that the information was quoted in the source by Dietrich, not written by Dietrich herself. So Liz Dietrich used information from a different source. And so we're using now, that's that original source's information. But that information was quoted in the source we're looking at. We need to indicate that simply by having QTD, which stands for quoted in Dietrich. Okay, let's go down here and look at this in-text citation here. And notice that we have the same thing. So we have information quoted in this Dietrich article. However, we have media instead of children like we had up here. And remember, we had two sources by Dietrich. I pointed out those 3 dashes on the works cited page. And here we're indicating or differentiating between which source we're actually referring to. So this indicates which source by Dietrich by abbreviating the title of the article after the author's name and setting it off with a comma. So notice we have quoted in Dietrich, comma, and then in quotation marks, the abbreviated title of that article. Here we have quoted in Dietrich, comma, and then an abbreviated version of that title. So let's take a look at our works cited page just to see how those abbreviated titles work. So I'm going to scroll down here. Okay, so Dietrich Liz, about face facts on the children in the media. And here we have, by Liz Dietrich, about face facts on the media. So she is abbreviating this whole title to just children and abbreviating this whole title to just media and separating those abbreviated titles in her in-text citations with commas. So this is how that appears here. And more frequently than you think, students will use information that's quoted in a source. So make sure that you are following these guidelines for quoting things that are quoted in other material. Okay, let's just see here. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to go over today for MLA documentation. And remember that this document, including the information here, the bullet points that I went over, is located online. So be sure to refer to it as you're actually writing your own work. Thank you.